Good morning, everybody. So I'm Matt Wright. I'm chair of ISLG, and I thought it would be worthwhile just starting by actually saying what ISLG is, because a number of people possibly don't know that. So ISLG has been running since 1996, best part of 30 years, long established infrastructure safety leadership group. It's mainly principal contractors and some key members of Network Rail and TfL and LUL. We were brought together, and the reason that we kind of exist is to enable particularly the principal contractor community to have a voice in the industry. We work within and sort of under RSSB, so we contribute to the rail health and safety strategy and work alongside a number of other groups that do similar things in the industry, for example, Rail Plant Association. So we've got around about 50 or so contractors in the group, so quite widespread within the industry, and we also incorporate the fatigue working group and also the Rail Sustainability Industry Forum, so RISIF. So it's a good group, so a bit of a pitch to that, so to be involved if you're not already involved. So moving on. Really want to sort of use this slide really to kind of set out the scale of some of the issues we're seeing. So some of these are, they're all rail projects. They're possibly projects that you've been involved in. And what we've seen is that over the last year, HSE's transportation report, 32% of fatalities were people being struck by plant. And another, a further 20% in the construction industry were from being struck by moving plants. So it's a real problem. But equally, we also see issues with delivery point management, loads falling off the back of vehicles causing infrastructure damage, and kind of the list goes on. So it's a problem that we need to deal with. And what we've seen is that there's a number of there's a changing dynamic at the moment, particularly moving into CP7. There's people are in a position where they're maybe not necessarily getting work that they were expecting to get. Work that they had before was starting to dry up. So challenges and decisions are having to be made, which potentially don't necessarily lead to the right outcomes. So I won't go through everything that's on the slide. But ultimately, kind of in the bottom right, we get to the point where we have this real risk of increased safety events because of all the factors on the left-hand side, driving the issues in the middle, and then the outcomes on the right as well. So that means we need to do something differently, and it all sits together in this diagram really. So you have people involved, you have plant involved, and you have places, the site, and they all come together. And we need to look at all three of those areas, because if we're not looking at all three areas, then something's going to be missing, and there'll be gaps, and we'll end up with incidents. So it's that full kind of approach to safe site, safe people, safe plant that we need to look at to bring it all together. To assist with that, ISLG a little while ago commissioned a piece of work around delivery point management. So this guidance document is due out very shortly, so I wanted to kind of share the information around it. And it's designed to look at the process sort of from cradle to grave. So it's around procurement. And it's around making sure that the decisions are being made early on, that we've got the right licences in place, that we've got the right agreements in place, that we've got the right T's and C's with our contractors. Making sure that we've got competent people, and obviously we heard about what competence and site familiarisation means around forklift trucks, and that's a big part of this. Making sure we've got people with the machine-specific training. That they actually know about the rail industry and what the rail industry means. There's a lot of people who we bring in, particularly around delivery point management and deliveries. There are people coming into the industry who aren't used to working in rail and the constraints that we have. And looking outside of that as well, and looking to other areas like the Forklift Training Association. what can we get from others that maybe we would routinely discount because it's not rail. Then we plan for the delivery. We're making sure that we understand what's coming, when it's coming, how we're going to get it off the kit, what other things like traffic management we might need to have in place, and that the operation of that task is supervised. Have we got people there ready to receive this? Do they know when it's coming? Do they know what the processes are? And then are we taking the lessons from some of the events that we've had and understanding what they're about? And then finally, continuous improvement, which the team will be talking about in a second. So I'll now hand over to Andy.
It's on now. So my name's Andy Craigle. I'm the chair of the Rail Plant Association Management Committee. First of all, you may not be familiar who CPA and RPA are. So CPA is the largest association in construction world, with been established for 85 years, having some over 1,900 member companies, ranging from small operators with one machine right up to those with thousands of machines. It contributes 14 billion and 191,500 jobs in the UK economy. So a really important part of the construction world. The Rail Plant Association was launched in 1999 and is a subset of CPA. And the terms and conditions that the CPA used, we've developed our own terms and conditions, which, as an industry, we try to implement with all our customers, so that there's a common requirements and a clear understanding of who provides what. In terms of the RPA then, we play our part within the industry by, first of all, sitting on other groups. So, for example, I'm the deputy chair of the M&E group. We sit on ISLG and other working groups, so we play our part in that way. But also we get involved with issues within the railway, and an example of that is Ramsden Bellhouse collision, if you're familiar with Ramsden Bellhouse, where a crane crashed into a MUP, causing life-changing injuries to the operator. So I set up a working group between the M&E and RPA, and we've just developed, and it's about to be published, an OTP driving handbook for operators in travelling mode on how to raise the bar to make more professional driving standards to try and prevent that type of accident. Another one that we've worked on fairly recently, which is close to becoming published, is working with the CPA on cranes working alongside the railway. So in conjunction with Network Rail and their standard CIV 0063 and the M&E Group's Code of Practice 32, trying to provide a much more holistic approach to working with lines open to traffic. So there's another example of things that we do. We also develop best practice guides, which Richard's going to come on to next. So I'll just hand you over now to Richard to go through what he does.
Good morning, Richard Ramasco from Explore Transport. What I'm going to do talk about is one of the actual projects. I'm on the RPA Management Committee. So one of the work that I've been doing is a good practice guide for the hauliers. So just a bit of a background to it. We did produce some haulier guidance. One was a guide for about haulier competence. And the other one was a guide about security of OTP and attachments, onto the bench of the trailers. Since we produced these, the DVLA first published the Securing Loads on HGVs and Goods Vehicle Guide in July 23. This guide replaced the previous DVS guidance, Safety of Loads and Vehicles, and that was a code of practice that they'd done. And then since then, in December 24, the current guide was updated. So therefore, our guides were first issued in 2020 and 21. So from the DVSA, we decided, look, we need to develop and upload ours or amend ours to be in line with the DVSA. So it's decided by the RPA Management Committee to combine the actual the ones that we've done before and put in an extra one. So like we said before, we've done it in modular kind of thing. So we've done one on haulier competence. Module 2 is about security of the OTP, which were in the previous ones. The other one, which did affect quite a lot of the hauliers, and you see a lot of close calls to do about working at heights. I'm briefly going to go into the 3 modules. So the haulier competence goes in the type of license required, but then also before that I did meet the director, the technical director of NPOS. So he was good when we discussed what we actually need. So previously, a lot of haulage companies, they just had loads of secure, but then we discussed it, hang on, they move kit around and they lift it. So again, this actual guidance goes into more detail of that one. For example, I'm just going to go into MPOS. So yeah, you need the loader secure, but you need the plant mover, and you need, if you're actually doing a lifting, excavator crane. So you've got the full competence of that person. Other requirements, which is actually in the guidance about familiarisation training on the types of machines or OTP that they're actually using, and also making sure they're about the PTS competence when it's actually required, because a lot of deliveries are on the other line, or can be. The next module is about security OTP. This module takes extracts from the DVSA guidance, and I've taken out the basic guidance. I haven't taken it all. There's a lot of stuff in the DVSA documents, but I've taken out the basics. And then what we've done, we've shown examples, i.e. pictures, and I've got quite a few photographs from my company Explore. We've got from CK, Ready Power, Balfour Beatty. I've got pictures of different loads. It's actually secured, to the actual LGV vehicle. We've also put attachments in there because they're carrying different types of attachments and the way how that's properly secured. So it's all guidance for the hauliers. And then the third one, which is again working at height module, that goes into a hierarchy for working at height, and then shows different examples. I borrowed some from the CPA about collective fall equipment, for example, crash mats, vehicle side netting, anchor points, drive-through gantries, and then we then put in some other examples for when you're actually lifting, prevent working at height, i.e. Extended chain, and probably some of you have seen it before, the magic hook. All right. So again, it's just showing guidance for that one. And that's what we're doing. It's going to be, we've nearly finished it. We'll send it off to the publishers, make it a bit more prettier than my little publication, and then it'll be ready available on the RPA website. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lynsey Gilfilan. I'm the Group HSQE Director for Story Contracting Limited, for those of you who don't know me, but I do recognise a lot of faces in the audience. It's been really good hearing from the speakers before now. We've heard about all the fantastic innovation, training and technology that's out there. We've heard some really wonderful standards are being either created or updated from ISLG and also the Rail Plant Association as well. And all of this is really driving in the right direction to protect people when engaging with plant and equipment out there in our work sites. It's all going in the right direction. You only need to look out there just now to see all that fantastic innovation and technology that we're all going to get super excited about, wish we had the budget to pay for, let's not kid ourselves on, but also trying to bring back all that knowledge to create better systems and processes for our businesses to keep our people safe. So why do we think this continues to happen? So if you just take a look at that picture for a minute, branding has been removed to protect the guilty and also the innocent out there. This photograph, which actually is still from a video, was taken 4 weeks ago. Now, why do we insist, or why do people insist in putting themselves in harm's way? No matter what systems and technology and innovation you have, the policies and the procedures that have been created, the safe system of work that's put in place by people like me, we still find ourselves in a situation where colleagues will put themselves in harm's way. They will put themselves in danger, knowingly or otherwise. So what drives that behaviour? Because it's really important that we look at the behaviour. As much as the technology and the adaptations we make for people, we need to look at people, how they behave, what influences that behaviour. And it could be something as simple as psychological factors. That thrill-seeking, that adrenaline and dopamine rush, because if you're like me, I love big yellow bits of plant and equipment. I think it's exciting. The colleagues on there think it's exciting. They want to go and have a look at it. There's that curiosity factor, the human element, that we can't help ourselves. We see something big and shiny, we are just drawn to it, aren't we? We want to go and touch it, even though we've got no right to be in that working envelope. It could be biological factors as well. It could be that neurochemical response that we get, the excitement, the endorphin rush, because you're doing something just slightly dangerous and you're getting a gratification from that. But also, what we don't do a lot of in this industry, and it's something that we should really consider, is actually look at our genetic predisposition for risk-taking. Everybody has a different appetite to risk. They've got a different appetite for what they see as being a risky environment for placing themselves or others in harm's way. Some of you might like doing parachute jumps. I think you're nuts. I've done a bungee jump. I loved it. You might think I'm mad. We've all got a different appetite for risk and risk-taking, and that's something that you need to consider when you're planning your jobs correctly, because if not, you see more things like this. And again, branding has been removed to protect the guilty. If you look at those particular pictures, look at the social and cultural factors there. You know, people are looking for validation, particularly if you're new to the industry. If you're a young apprentice or graduate, there's a couple of blue hats in there, aren't there? People want to feel a sense of belonging. They want to be part of the crowd. They look at that peer influence. Everybody else is there, so why shouldn't I be there? They actually want to look at the cultural norm. I mean, you only look out there just now, if you see some of the machines, everybody's all around these machines. The only thing stopping them is a barrier, and trust me, they want to climb that barrier to get to it. But these things still happen. And then you look at really that cognitive basis where optimism bias, it's not going to happen to me. It definitely won't. I've not seen anybody being hurt standing in and around that piece of plant or equipment. I work in the railway 7 nights a week. It's never happened to me. It's that illusion of control. And some of the photographs that Matt showed at the beginning, when you saw all of these pieces of plant and equipment, failures through delivery, serious risk and issue, and nobody's actually controlling that. So what can you do? We're not going to adorn them like Christmas trees with more bells, whistles and baubles, because that's not going to solve the problem. What we really want to do is positively disrupt the behaviour. So, I'll just move the button on. There we go. It would help if I pressed the buttons, wouldn't it? What we want to do is positively disrupt an individual's behaviour to keep themselves and others safe. So you actually look at it, everybody has an interpersonal attachment. For us as leaders, as supervisors, as individuals, we want to teach each and every one of our colleagues and friends about situational awareness. We want to be able to identify specific behaviours that we can then disrupt positively and reframe and refocus so that those individuals do not put themselves or others in harm's way. We also want to be looking at habits, breaking down those bad habits, creating new habits, hugely important. It takes roughly 7 to 15 times to do something for it to become a formed habit and behaviour. That is actually reduced significantly when you're watching your peer group do exactly the same thing. You develop that, it's like osmosis, you absorb that habit, that behaviour, you then mirror and replicate that behaviour back, which is great if it's a good behaviour, if it's a safe behaviour. If it's the alternative, it merely breeds risk into your project. Also looking at availability heuristics, you know, that fight or flight response, most times individuals will put themselves in a dangerous situation because they haven't had what is that commando mindset. They haven't taken that 5 minutes to stop and think, oh, where am I? What am I going to do? Am I putting myself in harm's way? Breathe, choose an appropriate path. It's all about taking the right decisions. And if you're seeing colleagues and friends in the infrastructure and they're in that fight or flight phase, they are really struggling to make the right decision. Because let's be honest, it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday morning. The engineering train has been delayed because the train drivers are working to shift rule. We actually have a hole in the ground. We've got the client breathing down our neck. Completely fictitious, of course. We need to get that done. We need to deliver that job. We want to deliver that job. Suddenly, that desire to succeed, that desire to win, because let's be honest, it's a really highly regulated but very tough environment that we work in, and we're all winners. 99% of the time we're all winners, and we deliver a railway when everybody else is asleep, don't we? We're heroes in our own living room, but that desire will drive behaviours that are unintended. So it's breaking those habits, looking at that availability heuristics, and then also looking at that alpha state. If you do see someone in an alpha state, because it's very inhospitable hours that we work in, after all, is looking at those individuals who potentially are having mental blackouts, who are daydreaming, there's lots of them out there, who have a loss of situational awareness. How can we identify that? How can we safely intervene, redirect that behaviour to make sure that those individuals, collectively or individually, are making a safe choice? And I think for me, that's one of the biggest issues that we have. Sometimes, and she's saying this in the middle of real life, technology is brilliant, but it gives a false sense of protection and safety. And it allows people in most parts to relax and not have that awareness around them. So for us, whatever you do, whatever technology that you invest in, also invest in your people. That's a really big takeaway. Invest in your people. Make sure that they understand the risk profile that they're facing, what they need to do to keep themselves safe. And it's not just innovation and technology on its own. It has to be that cultural, that behavioural element to it. So that's one of the things that we wanted to bring today, is really promoting the great work ISCLG are doing, the great work that the Rail Plant Association are doing, and say, please, when these documents are published, go and seek them out. They will fundamentally change how you do delivery point management or how you do haulage deliveries for a plant and machinery. But also think about your people and look at there's a plethora of fantastic culture and behaviour programmes out there, too many for me to highlight individually, but think about the individual, think about their behaviours and how you can influence a change so that everyone in your site or in the office or in the planning department can take safe decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynsey, Matt, Andy and Richard. Some really, really key messages there for all of us. Just to share a very personal story, I, in a lifetime ago, was health and safety manager at one of the large coal-fired power stations in the UK, and the very first safety incident I had to deal with was reminiscent of one of those photos that Matt showed. It was an overturned site crane, and that was 30 odd years ago. So we've still got to keep learning from all of those previous incidents. Our last speaker this morning, and it is still morning, is going to talk about some of the digital enhancements in this people-plant interface. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Alistair MacDonald from Balfour Beatty. And also congratulations to Alistair. He's just got a new job within Balfour, so congratulations on that. But Alistair, over to you.